I'm Rachel Morgan, 29 years old, living in a modest two-bedroom house in a quiet suburb of Atlanta. I'm the youngest of three siblings, and for as long as I can remember, I've been the quiet one in the family, the one who never quite measured up to my older sister Claire, a corporate lawyer with a six-figure salary, or my brother, who's already made a name for himself as a tech entrepreneur with a startup valued at over $3 million. At every family gathering, I'm the one who fades into the background, the one people barely notice unless they need something done. I work as a marketing consultant, juggling about 5 clients at a time, trying to build my own career. Last year, I landed a contract worth $75,000 with a local nonprofit, which was a big deal for me. But when I mention my work to my family, the response is usually a polite nod or a quick change of subject. "That's nice, Rachel," my mom says, but I can tell she's already thinking about Claire's latest promotion or my brother's newest product launch. It's like I'm invisible, or worse, just the family's helper. Someone who organizes events, runs errands, and keeps things running smoothly behind the scenes. I remember last Christmas, when I spent hours baking cookies and decorating the house, hoping to bring some warmth to the family. Claire barely glanced at the spread and said, "You really should focus on your career instead of playing hostess." It stung more than she probably realized. I wanted to say, "I am focusing on my career," but the words caught in my throat. Instead, I smiled and kept quiet. At family dinners, the comparisons are constant. "Claire just closed a $500,000 case," my dad boasts. "And your brother's startup just got another round of funding." Then they look at me waiting for my news. I usually mumble something about a new client or a campaign I'm working on, but it never feels like enough. I've learned to swallow the disappointment, to hide the ache of feeling like I'm always falling short. Sometimes I wonder if they even see me as a person with dreams and struggles. I'm not just the responsible one, or the backup plan. I have ambitions, fears, and a desire to be recognized. Not for what I do for others, but for who I am. But those moments of hope are fleeting, buried beneath years of being overlooked. One evening, I confided in my best friend Sarah. "It's like I'm living in their shadows," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. She looked at me with steady eyes and said, "Rachel, you're not invisible. You just haven't let them see the real you yet." That conversation stayed with me. It made me realize how much I'd been shrinking myself to fit into their expectations. How many times had I sacrificed my own happiness to keep the peace? How long would I let their silence define my worth? So here I am, still searching for my place. Not just in my family but in the world. I wonder, how many of us live our lives waiting for someone else's approval? When will we stop shrinking ourselves and start standing tall in our own light? I'd love to hear your thoughts. When Claire announced her wedding last year, I was genuinely excited, but also carried a knot of nervousness in my stomach. I hoped this time would be different, that maybe, just maybe, I'd be included in the celebration as more than just the quiet sister who always faded into the background. I imagined myself sitting at the head table, sharing in the joy, or at least being acknowledged for all the little ways I'd supported the family over the years. But on the day of the wedding, that hope was shattered in the most humiliating way. Instead of being a guest, I was assigned as a server, literally working the event, serving food and drinks to the very people who had come to celebrate my sister. I was handed a tray and told to keep moving, to make sure the guests were attended to. The irony wasn't lost on me. My own sister's wedding, and I was reduced to hired help. I remember overhearing Claire, my sister, speaking to one of her friends just before the ceremony. Her voice was casual, almost dismissive. "Rachel's always been the responsible one. It's easier if she just helps out," she said with a small, knowing smile. The words hit me like a slap. It was as if I was invisible, or worse, a tool to be used for convenience. The reception hall was packed with over 150 guests. Family, friends, colleagues, and neighbors. The venue was stunning. A beautiful ballroom with crystal chandeliers and white roses everywhere. My parents had spent over $50,000 on the wedding, from the lavish catering to the designer wedding dress Claire wore, which reportedly cost $8,000. The wedding registry was filled with gifts valued at tens of thousands of dollars, including a $10,000 honeymoon package to the Maldives. As I moved through the crowd balancing trays of champagne and hors d'oeuvres, I caught snippets of conversations about Claire's career achievements and my brother-in-law's family connections. No one asked about me. No one even seemed to notice I was there, except when they needed a refill or a plate cleared. At one point, I accidentally bumped into a guest, spilling a bit of wine on her dress. She looked down at the stain, then up at me with a cold glare. "Watch it," she snapped. I apologized quickly, my cheeks burning with embarrassment, and hurried away. The worst moment came when I saw my parents seated at the head table, smiling and chatting with Claire's in-laws. I wanted to approach them, to share a moment of happiness, but I felt like a stranger in my own family. Later, I learned from a cousin that my parents had never once consulted me about the wedding plans or asked for my opinion. It was as if I didn't exist in the grand scheme of things. After the ceremony, I found a quiet corner and sat down, my heart pounding. The sting of rejection and invisibility was overwhelming. I thought about all the times I had put my family first, organizing events, helping with errands, supporting Claire's career moves, only to be treated like an afterthought on the most important day of her life. I pulled out my phone and texted my best friend Sarah. "I'm at Claire's wedding, but I feel like I'm not even here. They made me a server. I don't know if I can do this." Her reply came almost instantly. "You deserve so much more than this, Rachel. Don't let them dim your light." That night, as I lay in bed, the hurt and humiliation churned inside me. I realized that this wasn't just about a wedding or a single day, it was about how my family saw me, or rather, how little they saw me. The realization cut deep, but it also sparked something inside me. A determination not to be invisible anymore. Have you ever been made to feel like you don't belong in your own family? How do you reclaim your worth when those closest to you overlook your value? I'm still figuring that out. The moment Claire's words echoed in my ears. "Rachel's always been the responsible one. It's easier if she just helps out." I felt a cold wave of humiliation wash over me. Standing there with a tray full of champagne flutes, surrounded by laughter and chatter that suddenly felt like a cruel soundtrack to my own invisibility, I wanted nothing more than to scream, to run away, to disappear. But I didn't. I forced a smile, nodded politely when guests thanked me, and kept moving, serving drinks as if I belonged behind the scenes, not at the celebration. Inside, though, a storm was raging. I was furious, not just at Claire but at myself. How had I let this happen? How had I allowed myself to be reduced to a server at my own sister's wedding? I thought about every time I put my family first, every sacrifice I'd made quietly, hoping that someday someone would notice. The countless holidays I'd spent organizing, the late-night phone calls to calm family crises, the financial help I'd given without complaint. And yet, here I was, invisible. I remembered the Thanksgiving dinner 2 years ago when I'd cooked the entire meal, only to have my efforts brushed aside as just what you do. Or the time I'd lent my parents $2,000 to help with unexpected bills, and no one had even said thank you. Those moments, once small and bearable, now felt like a pattern. A tapestry of neglect woven through years of family life. As I moved through the crowd, I caught a glimpse of my parents at the head table, smiling and chatting with Claire's in-laws. I wanted to join them, to share in the joy, but the weight of exclusion pinned me down. I felt like a ghost haunting a celebration that wasn't mine. Later, in a quiet corner of the venue, I sat down, my hands trembling. The sting of rejection was sharp, but beneath it was a deeper ache, the ache of being unseen, unvalued. I pulled out my phone and texted my best friend Sarah. "I'm at Claire's wedding, but I feel like I'm not even here. They made me a server. I don't know if I can do this." Her reply was immediate. "You deserve so much more than this, Rachel. Don't let them dim your light." Her words were a balm, but they also forced me to confront a painful truth. I had been dimming my own light for years, shrinking myself to fit into a family that never quite made room for me. I thought about the countless times I'd swallowed my pride, stayed silent when I should have spoken up, and put others' needs before my own. That night, after the reception ended and the guests had gone home, I found myself alone with my parents. The house was quiet, but the tension was thick. I took a deep breath and said, "Mom, Dad, I need to be honest. I can't keep doing this, being the family's helper, the invisible one. I'm not going to help with future events or financial support until I figure out where I stand in this family." My mother looked surprised, her eyes wide. "Rachel, we didn't mean to hurt you." "I know," I said softly, "but intentions don't erase feelings. I need space to heal and to be seen for who I am, not just what I do for others." My father nodded slowly. the weight of my words sinking in. We love you, Rachel. We just didn't realize. I'm not asking for love, I interrupted gently. I'm asking for respect, for acknowledgement, for a place at the table, not just behind it. Walking away from that conversation, I felt a strange mix of relief and sorrow. Relief because I had finally spoken my truth. Sorrow because it had taken so long to get here. In the days that followed, I reflected on my role in the family and the balance between responsibility and self-respect. I realized that love doesn't mean sacrificing your own worth. Sometimes setting boundaries is the most loving thing you can do, for yourself and for those around you. I'm still learning how to navigate this new path, how to stand firm without burning bridges, how to ask for what I deserve without guilt. But I know one thing for sure. I won't let myself be invisible anymore. Have you ever felt like you were giving everything but receiving nothing in return? How do you find the courage to stand up for yourself when it feels like the people you love don't see you? I'd love to hear your stories. The night was winding down, the last guests beginning to gather their coats and say their goodbyes. I was exhausted, my feet aching from hours spent weaving through the crowd with a tray of drinks, my smile forced and fading. The sting of being relegated to a server at my own sister's wedding still burned beneath my skin. I was ready to slip out quietly, to escape the suffocating atmosphere that had made me feel invisible all evening. Just as I was about to step outside, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I glanced at the screen and saw the name of a major client I'd been courting for months, one of the biggest opportunities of my career. My heart skipped a beat. This was the moment I'd been waiting for, the breakthrough that could change everything. I excused myself from the crowd, ducking into a quiet corner near the coat check. The noise of the party faded behind me as I answered the call. Hello, this is Rachel. The voice on the other end was warm but businesslike. Rachel, we've reviewed your proposal, and we're ready to move forward. We want to finalize a $250,000 marketing contract with your firm immediately. I felt a surge of adrenaline. That's fantastic news. I'm ready to get started right away. We went over the final details and within minutes the deal was sealed. I hung up, my hands trembling with a mix of relief and excitement. This contract wasn't just a win for me. It was validation of years of hard work, late nights, and sacrifices no one in my family had ever acknowledged. As I stepped back into the ballroom, I noticed a shift. The same people who had ignored me all night were now watching me with new eyes. Whispers rippled through the crowd. I caught Claire's fiancé, Mark, looking at me with a mixture of surprise and something like respect. He approached cautiously, clearing his throat. Rachel, I had no idea you were this important to the company. We should have treated you differently tonight. I met his gaze steadily. It's not about how you treat me. It's about recognizing people for who they really are. Claire, standing nearby, looked taken aback. Her usual confident smile faltered. I could see the wheels turning in her mind, the realization dawning that she had underestimated me. Then, something unexpected happened. My 9-year-old nephew, Ethan, tugged at my sleeve and whispered, Aunt Rachel, can I say something? Before anyone could stop him, Ethan climbed onto a chair and took the microphone. The room quieted instantly, all eyes turning toward the small boy. My Aunt Rachel is the smartest person I know, he said, his voice clear and confident. She works really hard every day, and she just got a big contract that will help her company grow. She's not just the person who brings drinks at weddings, she's a boss. A murmur spread through the guests. Some smiled, others looked surprised, and a few even wiped away tears. Ethan's innocent but powerful words cut through the pretenses and reminded everyone of the real Rachel, the woman they had overlooked. Claire's mother approached me later, her eyes moist. I'm sorry we didn't see how much you've accomplished. You should be proud. I nodded, feeling a warmth I hadn't expected. Thank you. I am proud. And I'm done hiding. That night, the atmosphere in the room changed. People who had dismissed me now sought my attention, asking about my work and congratulating me. For the first time, I felt truly seen, not as the quiet sister or the helper, but as a professional, a woman with her own story and success. Driving home later, I thought about how one phone call and one brave little voice had shifted everything. It wasn't just about the contract or the recognition. It was about reclaiming my place, my worth, and my voice. Have you ever had a moment when someone else's words revealed your true value to the world? How did it change the way you see yourself and how others see you? I'd love to hear your story. A few days after the wedding, I knew I couldn't keep carrying the weight of silence any longer. The sting of being treated like a server at my own sister's wedding was still raw, and the unexpected recognition I'd received from that phone call only made the contrast sharper. I needed to confront Claire and my parents, not with anger, but with clarity and resolve. I arranged to meet them at my parents' house, a place that once felt like home but now felt heavy with unspoken tensions. As I walked in, I saw the familiar faces of my mom, dad, and Claire sitting in the living room, their expressions a mix of curiosity and apprehension. I took a deep breath and began. "I want to talk about the wedding," I said, my voice steady but firm. Not just the day itself, but what it meant, and what it didn't mean for me. Claire shifted uncomfortably in her seat, avoiding my gaze. My parents exchanged glances but said nothing. "I'm not your server or your backup plan," I continued. "I'm not here to be invisible or to play a role that diminishes who I am. I'm proud of what I've built with my career, proud of the risks I've taken, and proud of the woman I'm becoming." My mom's eyes welled up, but she stayed silent. My dad cleared his throat, trying to find the right words. "Rachel, we never meant to hurt you," he said slowly. "We just thought you were happy helping out, that you liked being the responsible one." I shook my head. "That's the problem. You assumed. You never asked. I've spent years putting everyone else first, sacrificing my own needs and dreams. But I won't do that anymore. Not at the cost of my self-respect." Claire finally looked up, her voice quieter than I expected. "I didn't realize how much I hurt you. I thought I was just making things easier." "Making things easier for you meant sidelining me," I said. "I'm done being sidelined. If you can't respect me as an equal, then I need to protect myself by stepping back." The room fell into a heavy silence. For the first time, I saw the weight of my words settle on them. The dynamic had shifted. My parents looked uncertain, as if they were seeing me for the first time. Not just as their youngest daughter, but as a woman demanding respect. My mom finally spoke, her voice trembling. "We love you, Rachel. We just didn't know how to show it." "I know love isn't always perfect," I replied. "But love without respect isn't enough. I'm setting boundaries, not to punish you but to protect myself." Claire nodded slowly. "I'm sorry. I want to do better." I felt a surge of empowerment, a lightness I hadn't known in years. "Thank you. That means a lot. But this isn't just about apologies. It's about change. I won't be the family's invisible helper anymore. I'm here to be seen, heard, and valued." Some moments later, my dad sighed and said, "We'll have to figure out how to move forward. This is new for all of us." I smiled softly. "It's new for me too. But I'm ready." As I left that day, I realized that standing up for myself wasn't just about confrontation. It was about claiming my space in the family and in life. It was about saying, "I matter," and expecting others to honor that truth. Have you ever had to set boundaries with people you love? How did it change your relationships? I'd love to hear your experiences. Now, after everything that's happened, I've made a choice. A choice to live for myself, not for the approval or validation of others. For years, I let my family's expectations and unspoken judgments shape how I saw myself. I tried to fit into roles that weren't meant for me, hoping that by doing so I'd finally be seen, finally be valued. But I've learned that no amount of sacrifice or silent endurance can replace the power of self-respect and authenticity. I'm focusing on my career, on building the life I want, not the one others expect of me. That $250,000 contract I closed at the wedding wasn't just a business win. It was a symbol of my worth, my capability, and my right to claim space in this world. I'm setting clear boundaries with my family, not out of anger or resentment, but out of love for myself. I'm no longer willing to be sidelined, overlooked, or diminished. It's not easy. There are moments when the old feelings creep back. The guilt, the doubt, the longing for acceptance. But I remind myself that my value isn't tied to anyone else's approval. It's rooted in who I am, the choices I make, and the courage I show every day to live my truth. So I ask you, reading this now, how often do we let family roles and expectations limit our true potential? How many times have you sacrificed your own dreams to fit into someone else's story? When do we stop shrinking ourselves to make others comfortable and start standing tall in our own light? Finding the courage to claim your worth isn't a one-time event. It's a journey. It means learning to say no, to set boundaries, and sometimes to walk away from relationships that no longer serve your growth. It means forgiving, not just others but yourself, for the times you doubted your value or stayed silent when you should have spoken up. I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences. Have you ever faced a moment when you had to rewrite your narrative? How did you find the strength to live authentically, despite the pressures around you? What boundaries have you set that changed your life? Remember, your worth is not defined by the roles others assign you, but by the truth you live every day. Embrace your story, honor your journey, and never stop believing that you deserve to be seen, heard, and celebrated, just as you are. What's your truth? I'm listening.